Hello dear, welcome once again. In this video, I am going to explain you the contents of the article The Elixir of Life, written by Dr. C.V. Raman. In this article, Dr. Raman is talking mainly about two things. There's one, water management, and the second is the soil conservation. To begin with, Dr. Raman mentions about elixir, which is an imaginary liquid supposed to give immortality to human beings. It is there in Puranas. As I told you, it is imaginary. But he has used this in order to compare this with another very important liquid, that is a plain water. He says that this liquid, the plain water, is as important and as precious as the elixir is. To show the importance of water, the author has used two different pictures. That is, he says that when he was standing on the line which separates the Libyan desert and Nile Valley, when he looks at the Nile Valley, he finds full of greenery and it is teeming with life, full of life. And just on the opposite side, when it is the place where there is no water, it is a dead desert, almost no life, no greenery. This shows the importance of water. If no water, no life. Two things are very important for our life, that is for our agriculture. One is sufficient water, and the second is a fertile soil. In India, as well as many other countries, most of the farmers depend on seasonal rainfall, that is monsoons, for their crops. If we depend on the seasonal rains, it is not good. Irregular and scanty rainfall sometimes leads to failure of crops. Farmers will be in distress. This is what is happening in India. So, the dependence on the rain should be minimized. So, for that, we need to construct small bunds in our own fields, and in a large scale, we have to construct dams. Construction of a dam is a big project. It should be taken up by the central government. National problem, national solution. When it rains in the catchment areas, that is on the hilltops, the water rushes down and it flows through the plain land and ultimately it flows into the oceans. Now, sometimes on the way, this rainwater gets filled in small tanks, ponds, lakes, etc. This water can be utilized for our agriculture, but it is very, very less. We need large dams so that large area could be watered or irrigated so that we can get more and more crops. Now, let me tell you the advantages of constructing dams. Number one, it ensures the regular supply of water to the fields, that is through the canals. Secondly, the hydroelectric projects, if we install in the dams, it will provide us the much needed electrical power supply. This power supply can be utilized for industries and pumping of the groundwater, that is tube well what we call. So we can pump up the water and that water, groundwater, can be utilized for our agriculture. Thirdly, these canals through which the water is supplied to the fields could be utilized as waterways. This is called inland waterways. That is like a roads we can use. Boats can be used for transportation of things. So this works out to be very cheap. So this is a very advantageous one, but it has not been done sufficiently in India. We have to do it. And next, the author talks about an important aspect, that is erosion. What is this erosion? Erosion is the chipping off of the upper crust of the earth by some geological processes. When it rains on the hilltops, the fast moving water collects big particles of rock, and these particles flow down along with the water. On their journey, they become finer particles because of the collisions. They roll every time they roll, and they collide each other, and they collide with the bottom of the river. Like that, these big particles convert into small particles. By the time it comes to the last stages, that is at the plains, the fine silt, that is fine soil, is deposited on the banks of the river when it floods. This is it. So this silt is very much fertile for our agriculture. For you might have heard that our civilizations, all ancient civilizations, flourished on the banks of the rivers, because we human beings like to settle at the river banks because it is fertile, and we get the much needed water for our daily use from the river. This erosion can be a boon or a bane, that is a curse to the farmers. Let us see how it is. When the large particles are chipped away or eroded away from the hilltops, it is a good thing for us, because these particles will move fast, and they are converted into fine silt, and this silt is deposited on the banks of the river. This is advantageous. But on the other way, it is a bane, it is a curse, because this fast moving water can form gullies and ravines. See, these are the things. This is a gully, this is a ravine. A formation of ravines and deep gullies in our fields makes it very difficult for the farmers to cultivate. That means this land is converted into gullies and ravines. Another problem is that this fast moving water, that is, we call it as a flood, it washes away the silt which was deposited earlier. So that means what was very important for us, the silt or a fine topsoil, that is eroded away in the next rains. So therefore, this becomes a curse, because if I lose the topsoil, fertile soil, then how can I go with the agriculture? This is a problem. Now let me tell you the causes of this erosion, floods. Whenever there is a flood, definitely you have seen that it washes away all that comes on its way. Next is the slope of the land. If the land is inclined, if it is not a plain, definitely the water will flow very fast. So this fast moving water washes away the soil. So this is a problem. And the third one is lack of vegetation. That is, all sorts of trees, herbs, shrubs, creepers, all these make vegetation. When the deforestation is done, that is, when they cut the trees in the forests or for mining activities, that time the vegetation is removed. Then definitely it is open to the fast moving water. So water will wash away whatever is on the upper surface. So this is a disadvantage. And now the effects of this soil erosion. The formation of ravines and deep gullies or cracks in our land definitely affects the agriculture. We cannot plow or use that land. It becomes barren land because of the washing away of the topsoil. Now, the remedial measures. Then, how to overcome these difficulties or these problems? How to solve these problems? The first thing is, if there is a flood, then you have to make sure that these ravines and deep gullies are not formed. So this could be avoided by making the barriers, small barriers in our own fields. Here and there, if you make barriers like this, so this will check the water flow and water will stand for a while there. And this standing of water definitely deposits the fine silt. So silt is deposited every time and only the water will flow, that too very slowly after some times. And the second is terracing of the land. If your land is not plain, if it is inclined, then instead of using it as inclined only, you can make the step like things, that is called a terracing. So if you make terracing, then definitely water will not flow very fast. Water will flow slowly down the path. And next point is afforestation. That is opposite of deforestation. That means wherever the jungles are cleared or for a large number of trees are cut or mining activities have taken place, such places we can plant suitable saplings so that we can get trees after sometimes. This prevents the fast movement of the water, and this also recharges the groundwater because there is a precipitation. This slow moving water will precipitate into the soil and it forms underground water. Again, this also can be utilized. People in South India do not maintain these precious tanks. The tanks that are filled by the rainwater are very shallow, he says. That is, they are not very deep. Of course, they are useful, but not to that extent. These could be regularly desilted and more water can be harvested there. In the fifth paragraph, the author talks about the beauty around the countryside, that is, near the villages. He says that there are large lakes also, which are very beautiful when they are full, and when you go and stand near them and look at the horizon when it is a sunset and sunrise, he says it is so very beautiful sight. He further says that the water in the lakes or in the ponds is compared to the eyes of the human beings in the face. He says when there is a bright light, it looks very bright and it reflects that it is joyful. Our mood is joyful mood. And when the sky is full of clouds, black clouds, that time the same water looks different. It is dull and gloomy. Therefore, they reflect the mood. This is what the author says. I hope you have liked the different way of presentation of the same article, because that article lacks coherence. So I have little modified and given you the best I could. I hope you are happy with this. I am very confident that you have liked this. So if you have liked this, definitely please touch the thumbs up mark, and by this you tell somebody that it is worth watching. Thank you for watching this, and please give me the feedback. Please comment how you have felt after watching this video.